So when people make assumptions about someone else, they have these preconceived ideas. They've already made up the story in their head about who somebody is and what their beliefs are. They might even make up a story about how that person perceives them. And it may not be true. I have found that there have been times when I thought, oh, based on this interaction, this person thinks this about me. And one was I offered to help a lady. She was new on a team and I had worked on a different team than she did. And I had offered to come in and help because I knew she was going to be by herself that day. And she just responded in a very nonchalant way that pretty much she said, no, I don't need any help. And I walked away from that going, oh, I don't think I'll offer my help to her again, right? She doesn't need my help. And then later, a mutual friend had introduced us and we actually sat down and had a conversation. And I realized there were some other things in her life that had been going on. And she was probably thinking about something totally different. We had a lovely conversation. We actually sat down for 3 hours and she had me laughing and crying, laughing. I mean, it was just as she was sharing her story with me. And so I realized I had made up a lot of conclusions in my mind about her response to me or what she may have thought about me. So that was one that taught me a very powerful lesson. There was another situation where I had met someone for the first time, actually was part of the challenge that I had taken up to meet 100 people in 100 days. And this gentleman was 6'2", 6'3", big burly looking gentleman and had this big beard. And as soon as he agreed to be a part of my challenge, the very first thing he said to me was, one of my ancestors died at the Battle of Franklin fighting for the Confederate Army. Now, I wasn't expecting to hear that at all. But he quickly followed that up with, he said, I learned that I can acknowledge my family's heritage without carrying their flag. And that spoke volumes to me. It told me a couple of things. It said, one, you cannot prejudge someone's story. You never know what somebody's story is going to be about until you take the time to hear it. And the second thing it told me was perhaps I should understand where somebody's coming from in order to be able to understand their perspective on a given topic. So that was a very pivotal conversation I had with somebody I had just met. And it taught me a lot about listening and a lot about taking the time just to uncover and find out who somebody really is before I jump to these conclusions. Because in the workplace, if I just automatically make that leap, I may be totally wrong. So when people are showing up at work and they make assumptions about one another, they may not be willing to lean forward and help the other person out based on what their experiences are, not knowing what somebody's day had been like, not knowing what somebody's life has been like. I think one of the most important things a manager or leader can do to help their team members by making the space. As the leadership goes, so does the organization. So if the leader is making it a point of connection and community, then the team is going to make that as well. And so if a leader gives space for that, maybe sets aside some time for some team building or time aside just for, let's have some of these conversations in addition to the actual work, you'll create such a better environment for connection, for innovation, for trust. Because now I know who you are and I want to be able to help you succeed. My teammate, I want my teammate to win. My teammate wants me to win. And then all together, we all win.